Ladies and gentlemen, I am 38 years old today, and if you are in your 20s or 30s, I just want you to pause for a moment and hear this. Not because I have all the answers, but because I have made enough mistakes, lived through enough regrets, and learned lessons that books never taught me. I wish someone had told me what I am about to tell you when I was your age. Maybe I would have walked a little lighter, loved a little deeper, and trusted myself a little sooner. When you are in your 20s or early 30s, the world feels like a loud crowd telling you what to be. There is pressure to become something fast, to be successful, to be in a relationship, to own things, to prove yourself. But here is what I have learned with time: the louder the world gets, the quieter your own voice becomes. You start chasing things that don't belong to you, and before you know it, you are 38, asking yourself, why didn't I listen to my heart? Your 20s and 30s are not a race, they are your roots. And I say this with every part of my heart that learned it the hard way. When I was in my 20s, I thought life was a competition. Everyone seemed to be running towards something: better jobs, bigger homes, beautiful relationships, achievements that looked so good on social media. I looked around and felt like I was behind, always behind, like I had to catch up or I would be forgotten. But no one tells you that rushing through life is like planting a tree and yelling at it to grow faster. It does not work that way. Roots take time, they grow in silence, in darkness, in depth. And that is what your 20s and 30s are for, not for blooming like a showpiece flower, but for digging deep into who you are. You are not meant to have it all figured out in this phase. You are meant to ask, to explore, to stumble, to walk away from paths that do not feel like home. You are meant to be unsure sometimes, because that is how you discover what truly matters. But here is the problem: we are taught to perform instead of evolve. We are told to get degrees, jobs, marriages, houses, all before 30, as if there is an expiry date on becoming a complete human being. The pressure eats you alive. You see your peers achieving something and think you are falling behind. But falling behind from what? From whose timeline? There is no stopwatch on growth. There is no trophy for doing it the fastest. The only reward is peace, and peace never comes from speed. It comes from alignment, from building a life that feels honest to you. I remember sitting alone one evening, 32 years old, feeling like a failure. I had a good job, people who loved me, and yet I felt hollow. Because everything I had built was based on what I thought I should want, not what I truly did want. I had spent a decade planting seeds in someone else's garden, wondering why I did not feel at home. That was the moment I began again. I started unlearning. I started asking real questions. I started accepting that it is okay to go slow if you are going the right way. Let me tell you now, slow is strong. Quiet is powerful. Small steps matter. In your 20s and 30s, the work you are doing on yourself, the healing, the understanding, the searching, it all counts. Even when no one sees it, especially when no one sees it, you are not here to prove, you are here to grow. If you can just breathe and be kind to yourself in this journey, you will find something solid inside you. Not something that impresses people, but something that anchors you when life gets hard, because it will get hard. But roots hold, roots bend with the wind, roots feed your future. So please stop rushing. You are not late. You are learning, and this season, this messy, uncertain, beautiful season, is not the waiting room of life. It is life, and it is worth living with your eyes open, your feet grounded, and your heart wide open to becoming. Confusion is not failure, it is a compass. This is something I did not understand for a very long time. I used to believe that if I was confused, it meant I was weak, lost, or simply not good enough to know what I wanted. I thought people who looked confident had it all figured out. I thought clarity was something you either had or you didn't. But I was wrong. The truth is, confusion is not the absence of direction. It is the very beginning of discovering it. It is the place where questions are born, and questions are how you grow. When you feel confused, it means your soul is searching. It means the old ways are no longer fitting, and the new ones have not yet shown up fully. That space in between, where nothing is certain and everything feels cloudy, is where most people want to run away. They panic, try to make quick decisions, force themselves into jobs, relationships, or identities just to silence the noise. But if you can stay there, if you can hold your confusion without judging it, it starts to guide you. Think of it like standing in the middle of a foggy forest. You cannot see clearly, but you are awake, you are present, and that awareness is the start of real transformation. The problem is, we are trained to fear the fog. We want straight lines, quick results, clear signs. But life doesn't always give us that. Sometimes it gives us feelings we don't understand, thoughts that contradict each other, and moments where we want everything and nothing at the same time. And instead of shaming ourselves for that, we need to realize this is what becoming looks like. When you're confused about your career, your purpose, or even your relationships, it's not because you are a failure. It is because your inner voice is starting to whisper, "There's more for you than this." That discomfort is a signal. It is your system refusing to settle, and the more you listen to it, the more honest your choices become. I remember being stuck in a job that looked good on paper, but felt wrong in my chest. Every morning, I would wake up with that heavy question, "Is this it?" But I was afraid to leave, afraid to start over, so I stayed in confusion for years, thinking something was wrong with me for not feeling grateful. But the truth was, my confusion was my courage knocking at the door, asking me to trust something deeper. When I finally listened, I did not have a perfect plan. I still do not, but I have something better. I have peace in the decisions I make, because they come from alignment, not fear. If you are confused right now, do not rush to label it as failure. Give it space, write down what you are feeling. Ask yourself, what parts of your life feel heavy? What conversations do you avoid? What activities drain you? What moments make you forget time exists? These are clues. They are the stars in your night sky, and no, they might not light up the whole path, but they are enough to take one honest step forward. The most powerful people I have met in life were once very confused, and they did not become powerful because they avoided it. They became powerful because they let it shape them. They sat in it, they cried in it. They let it strip away everything false. And then, from that raw place, they built a life that felt true. That is what confusion can do, not crush you, but carve you into something real. Pain is not punishment, it is preparation. This is a truth that only life can teach you, not through words, but through experience. When something hurts, whether it is the end of a relationship, the loss of a dream, the betrayal of a friend, or the failure of something you worked so hard for, it is easy to believe that life is against you, that somehow you are being punished, that maybe you are not good enough, not strong enough, not deserving enough. I used to think that way. I used to ask, why me? I used to cry in silence, thinking I was being broken. But what I did not realize at the time was that pain was shaping me, not shaming me. There is a silence that comes with deep pain. A silence where the world continues to spin, but you feel like you are stuck in place. In that silence, something powerful happens. You start seeing the truth that was hidden behind the noise. You start understanding people, and more importantly, you start understanding yourself. Pain brings you face to face with who you really are when no one is watching, and it asks you, now what? That question is not a punishment. It is an invitation to grow, to transform, to become. I remember a time when my life felt like it was falling apart piece by piece. Nothing made sense. I would smile in front of people and collapse in my room alone. I thought I was being punished. I thought maybe I had done something wrong. But every time I broke down, something inside me became clearer. I started letting go of people who were not good for me. I started focusing on things I had ignored for years. I started writing again, praying again, breathing again, not for the world, but for myself. That pain that I once cursed became the very path that led me back to myself. When you are going through pain, it feels endless, like it will never leave, but the truth is, nothing shapes you like pain. Not comfort, not success, not applause. Pain enters like a storm, but it leaves behind roots. It leaves behind a stronger version of you. The kind of strength that does not shout but knows. The kind of strength that allows you to bend without breaking. That is preparation. That is life telling you, you are ready for more, but first let me show you what you are made of. Sometimes the things we call setbacks are actually setups. Life removes people so you can stand on your own. It ends certain chapters so you do not stay stuck in a story that no longer serves you. It breaks your heart so it can soften your soul, and none of that is punishment. It is not life being cruel. It is life being honest, because growth does not come with a comfort zone. It comes with being stretched, being tested, being challenged. We often admire people who are wise, kind, and grounded, but rarely ask what they went through to become that way. No one becomes resilient from a perfect life. The deepest people are the ones who were once shattered and still chose to love, still chose to rise, still chose to try again. Pain prepared them, and it will prepare you too, not because you deserve to suffer, but because you are meant to rise stronger. Pain is not the end of the story. It is the part where you find your beginning. No one really knows what they are doing. Everyone is figuring it out. That sentence alone could have saved me from years of pressure, shame, and self-doubt. But when you are young, especially in your 20s or early 30s, it is so easy to believe that everyone else has life all mapped out. You see people landing jobs, getting married, starting families, buying homes, launching businesses, and from the outside it all looks so neat, so stable, so sure, and then there's you, staring at the ceiling some nights, asking questions no one prepared you for, wondering why you feel lost while everyone else looks found. But the truth is they are not. They are just performing better, hiding better, pretending better. The older I get, the more I realize that most people are walking around with unanswered questions. Most people are carrying stories they do not share, doubts they do not admit, decisions they are unsure of. Some are smiling on the outside and breaking on the inside. Some are climbing ladders they do not even want to be on. Some are envied for things they secretly hate. That is the real world, not the filtered one we see online, not the polished version we hear in small talk. The real world is messy, it is uncertain, and it is filled with people who are just doing the best they can with what they know. I remember sitting across from someone I admired deeply, successful, confident, widely respected. I finally got the courage to ask them, "How did you figure it all out?" And they laughed, not in a dismissive way, but in a knowing, soft way. They said, "I still haven't. That moment changed me." Because it reminded me that the illusion of having it all together is just that, an illusion. There is no final stage where suddenly all your questions vanish and life becomes perfectly clear. There are just different stages of learning, unlearning, adapting, and growing. When you stop believing that you are the only one who is lost, a strange kind of peace enters your life. You stop being so hard on yourself, you stop comparing every step, you start giving yourself permission to try, to fail, to not know. And that permission is powerful. It frees you from the pressure of pretending. It opens space for honesty, for humility, for connection. I have had conversations with doctors who question their careers, teachers who feel burned out, parents who feel overwhelmed, entrepreneurs who quietly fear they made the wrong bet. Everyone, no matter how strong they seem, has something they are still figuring out. You do not see that in their social media posts or their polished presentations, but it is there. And if you could hear their inner voice, you'd realize it sounds a lot like yours. We are all learning as we go. Life does not come with a manual. It comes with moments, and in each moment we make a choice. Sometimes it is right. Sometimes it is wrong. Sometimes it is both, but we learn. That is how wisdom grows, not from certainty, but from experience. From being brave enough to move forward even when the path is blurry. So if you feel behind, unsure, or lost, please know that you are not broken. You are human. You are not supposed to have all the answers. You are supposed to ask, to explore, to stumble, to laugh, to cry, to start over if you must. You are supposed to live, not perform, and real living is messy. Real living is full of maybes, but it is also full of meaning, of growth, of small moments where things make sense, even if just for a second. Those seconds are enough to keep going. And that is how we all figure it out, one honest second at a time. If you do not heal what hurt you, you will bleed on people who did not cut you. This is not just a poetic truth. It is a quiet warning life whispers when we keep running from our pain. Every one of us carries something, a wound, a betrayal, a disappointment, a loss, and most of us are taught to bury it, to distract ourselves, to keep smiling, to stay busy, but pain does not vanish just because you ignore it. It waits. It hides beneath your reactions, your silence, your overthinking, your sudden anger, your fear of love, your inability to trust. It shows up when you least expect it, and it always finds its way to the surface. Unhealed wounds have a voice. They speak in your relationships, in your choices, in your patterns. You start pushing people away before they get a chance to stay. You lash out not because someone hurt you today, but because someone hurt you years ago and you never spoke about it. You sabotage opportunities not because you are not ready, but because somewhere inside you still believe you are not worthy. That is what pain does when left unhealed. It becomes the lens you see life through. I have been there. I have seen myself act out in moments and later wonder, why did I react so strongly? And the answer was always the same. I was not reacting to that moment. I was reacting to 100 moments before it, moments I never processed, emotions I never named, and slowly I realized that healing is not a luxury. It is a responsibility, not just to myself, but to the people around me. Because when you are unhealed, you can unintentionally hurt people who only ever wanted to love you. Healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It does not mean pretending it did not affect you. It means giving yourself permission to feel it, to understand it, and to slowly let it go. It means being honest with yourself about what you still carry. And it means taking the slow, often painful steps toward peace, not because the past was fair, but because you no longer want it to control your future. You might think time heals everything, but time only passes. Healing is a choice. It is work. It is sitting with your feelings when all you want to do is run. It is having conversations you avoided for years. It is writing things down, crying it out, talking to someone, forgiving someone, sometimes even forgiving yourself. Healing is not a straight line. It is messy. Some days you feel powerful, and some days you feel broken all over again. But even on the broken days, you are moving forward. Even on the silent days, something inside you is changing. When you heal, you stop bleeding on the wrong people. You stop projecting your past onto your present. You stop expecting others to fix what you have not addressed. And most importantly, you become safe for yourself and for those who love you. You become someone who can give and receive without fear. Someone who can face pain without becoming it. Someone who can be soft and strong at the same time. There is no shame in being hurt, but there is power in deciding to heal. Not because it is easy, not because it happens fast, but because healing is how you take back your life. It is how you stop being defined by what happened and start choosing what happens next. It is how you stop surviving and start truly living. Because when you are whole inside, the world begins to feel a little softer, a little kinder, a little more like home. You do not need 100 friends, just one who tells you the truth. There is a quiet kind of wealth in having one person in your life who loves you enough to be honest. Not brutally honest, not cold, but lovingly, fearlessly honest. The kind of friend who sees through the performance, who hears what you are not saying, who notices when your smile does not reach your eyes. In a world where we collect followers like trophies, it is easy to forget the value of real connection. But when everything falls apart, when your confidence crumbles, when life gets loud and messy, it is not the crowd that saves you. It is that one voice that says, "I'm here, and I'm not leaving." The truth is, most people will clap when you are winning, but stay silent when you are slipping. Some will even cheer for your rise while secretly waiting for your fall. That is why it matters who you let close. Friendship is not about quantity. It is about depth. It is about trust. It is about the safety of being seen without having to perform. One real friend can be a lifeline. They will not always say what you want to hear, but they will say what you need. They will not judge your scars, they will ask where it hurts. They will not run when you're lost. They will sit with you until you are ready to stand again. I have had seasons in life where I was surrounded by people and still felt alone. I laughed at parties, responded to messages, shared photos. But deep down, I knew something was missing. I was missing someone who could hold space for my truth, not just celebrate my image. And when I found that person, someone who told me when I was wrong, when I was scared, when I was settling, it felt like finding home in human form. They reminded me that friendship is not about always agreeing. It is about being able to disagree and still stay. Still care, still call. That kind of friendship is rare, and it is sacred, because it is not built on convenience. It is built on commitment. It is not about how often you meet or how long you have known each other. It is about the honesty you share. You need someone who calls you out when you're self-sabotaging, someone who says you deserve more when you're stuck in a situation beneath your worth, someone who reminds you of your light when all you can see is the darkness. That one friend is more valuable than 1,000 who only show up for the good times. We live in a culture that teaches us to be liked, not known, to keep things light, to avoid the heavy. But healing happens in the heavy, growth happens in the honest, and sometimes the only way we can see ourselves clearly is through the mirror of a true friend. The one who does not flinch when we are raw, the one who remembers who we are when we forget, the one who gently holds us accountable, not to shame us but to lift us. 100 shallow connections will never give you the strength that one deep one will. It is not about having people who agree with you all the time. It is about having someone who will walk beside you when the world gets confusing, who will tell you when you're off track, who will sit with you in silence and not try to fix you, just be there. And when you find that person, cherish them. Water that friendship like a fragile plant. Protect it. Respect it, because in this loud, filtered world, truth is rare, and people who speak it with love are even rarer. The loudest voice you must learn to hear is your own. In a world that constantly tells you who to be, what to do, how to look, and where to go, it is easy to forget that your own voice exists. Not the voice you use in conversations, but the quiet one inside, the one that speaks in feelings, in intuition, in gut reactions, in dreams. The one that whispers truths when everyone else is shouting lies. That voice is not loud. It does not beg for attention. It does not interrupt. It waits, and often it waits too long, buried under expectations, opinions, trends, and noise. When you are young, everyone seems to know what is best for you. Your family tells you what a good life should look like. Society tells you what success means. Social media tells you what is popular. Strangers tell you what is normal. And slowly, your own voice becomes quieter until one day you do not even recognize it anymore. You begin to live a life shaped by outside approval rather than inner alignment. You make choices that look right but feel wrong. You stay in situations that drain you because leaving would disappoint someone else. You doubt yourself before every decision, not because you lack intelligence, but because you have stopped trusting your own truth. Listening to your own voice is not easy. It takes courage, it takes silence, it takes sitting with yourself long enough to remember what you actually believe. What matters to you? What kind of life feels meaningful not to your parents, your friends, your followers, but to you? And once you hear that voice, you have to protect it, because the world will try to talk over it. It will offer you shortcuts, distractions, validation. But nothing outside of you can give you the peace that comes from living in alignment with your own values. I remember moments when I chose what everyone else wanted for me, thinking it would make me feel loved or accepted. But every time I did, I felt a little more disconnected from myself, like I was slowly walking away from my own heart, smiling on the outside but aching on the inside. It was not until I sat with that ache that I realized it was my voice calling me back, asking me to listen, asking me to come home. Your voice will not always make sense to others. It might lead you down paths that are less traveled. It might ask you to slow down when the world says hurry. It might ask you to start over when everyone says you are already settled. But it knows what you need, it knows what you are made for, and the more you listen, the stronger it becomes. The more you honor it, the more confidence you grow. And confidence is not about being loud or perfect, it is about being honest. Honest with who you are and what you want. There will be times when you doubt that voice, when fear gets louder, when failure makes you question everything, but even then your voice is there, steady and patient. It does not need you to be fearless, it needs you to be faithful, to trust that even when the road is unclear, your inner compass will not lead you astray. That voice carries your truth, your story, your purpose, and the moment you begin to follow it, life begins to unfold in a way that feels real. Learning to hear your own voice is not about ignoring others. It is about learning which voices matter most, which ones help you grow and which ones hold you back. It is about knowing that the answers you seek are not always out there, they are often already inside, waiting for you to be still enough, brave enough, quiet enough to finally hear them. Stop comparing your timeline with others. This is one of the most exhausting habits we unknowingly adopt, and it quietly steals joy from even our brightest days. We are born into a world that rewards speed and visibility. If someone is ahead, we feel behind. If someone shines, we feel dull. We scroll through perfectly curated lives and begin to question our own. It starts subtly. Someone gets married, someone else buys a house, another gets promoted. And suddenly your own life feels slow, inadequate, or like it is missing something. But here is what I have realized after years of fighting that feeling. Everyone has their own clock. Just because their hour strikes now does not mean yours will not. There is no master schedule for success, no universal calendar for dreams. Life is not a checklist. It is not meant to unfold in sync with someone else's journey. When you compare, you are trying to measure your path with someone else's ruler. But you do not know their story. You do not know what they lost, what they are hiding behind that smile, or what they sacrificed to stand where they are. And you definitely do not know what they are still longing for. So what are you really comparing? Just surface, just shadows. It is like looking at someone else's destination and forgetting you're still on your way. I used to panic whenever someone achieved something I had not. A friend would start a business, and I'd feel useless. Another would post travel photos, and I'd feel stuck. I started doubting my own choices, not because they were wrong, but because they didn't look as shiny. The more I compared, the more I lost touch with my own journey. I started making decisions just to keep up, not because they meant something to me. And it drained me. It drained the purpose from my steps and the peace from my days. It took me years to realize that my life is not late. It is mine, and mine alone. I had to stop chasing moments that belonged to someone else and start asking myself, what do I actually want? Not what looks good, not what gets applause, but what feels honest. When I began to focus on my own pace, I started to enjoy things more. Even the small wins felt huge. Even the slow growth felt rich, and the noise from outside began to fade because my inner voice got louder. You are not meant to follow a script. You are meant to write your own, and writing takes time. It takes silence. It takes moments when you do not know what the next chapter looks like, but you still keep going. Just because your friend found love at 25 and you are single at 32 does not mean something is wrong. Just because your cousin is earning more than you does not mean you are less valuable. Just because someone else's life looks neat does not mean yours is messy. It just means it is different, and different is not a flaw. The pressure to keep up is real, and it is heavy. But the truth is, when you slow down and pay attention to your own rhythm, everything changes. You stop needing to prove and start learning to enjoy. You stop living for the next big thing and start appreciating the life you are already in. Your path is not missing anything. It is unfolding exactly how it needs to, and no timeline, no post, no person should have the power to tell you otherwise.